This is the story airlines don't want you to hear. When a black CEO worth millions was humiliated and thrown out of business class to make room for a white passenger, 10 minutes later, the entire crew was standing at attention because the man they just disrespected was about to give the captain an order no one on that plane will ever forget. If you think power, money, and race don't collide at 30,000 feet, buckle up. And before we take off, smash that subscribe button, because by the time you hear the ending, you'll want the world to know it. It was supposed to be the quietest trip of his month, a simple overnight flight from New York to London, the kind where Elias Carter, 43 years old, black, self-made billionaire CEO of one of the fastest-growing tech firms in the world, could finally switch off, sink into the plush leather of business class, and enjoy a few hours of solitude before stepping into a week of board meetings with European partners. He had arrived early, dressed in an understated but unmistakably expensive navy-tailored suit, the kind that didn't scream wealth, but whispered it in the language only the sharpest eyes understood. His boarding pass, printed and digital, confirmed. 3A, a window seat in business class. But as he settled in, powering down his phone after sending a quick text to his daughter, "See you in London, baby girl," a shadow fell over him. The flight attendant, a tall woman with perfectly pressed hair and a smile so thin it was almost a grimace, cleared her throat. "Sir," she began, in that clipped, overly polite tone that always masked something sharper, "I'm afraid there's been a change. We're going to have to ask you to relocate to economy." Elias blinked, half thinking he'd misheard her. "Excuse me?" She gestured vaguely toward the back of the plane. "We've had a last-minute reassignment. A frequent flyer, platinum tier, needed this seat." She didn't say the next part, but Elias could feel it hanging in the air, like static, and he's white and you're not. He glanced up, and sure enough, a middle-aged white man in a cream linen blazer was standing just behind the attendant, not even pretending to hide the smug curl of his lips. The man didn't wait for permission. He simply stepped forward, tossed his carry-on into the overhead bin above Elias's seat, and said, "Thanks for being understanding, buddy." The word buddy stung more than the cold order to move. Elias stayed still, his voice calm but cold. "I paid for this seat." The flight attendant's smile tightened. "Sir, you can take it up with customer service after landing. We need to complete boarding now." And just like that, with 100 pairs of eyes either watching or pretending not to, Elias Carter, who had the power to move millions of dollars in an instant, found himself standing, picking up his bag, and walking the long, humiliating aisle toward the cramped, narrow seats of economy. Passengers glanced at him, some with pity, others with curiosity, but no one spoke. When he sat down, knees brushing the seat in front, his mind wasn't on the insult. It was on the fact that they had no idea who they'd just embarrassed. Elias sat in the cramped economy seat, the air thick with the mingled scent of reheated food and too many bodies in too small a space, his long legs already aching from being folded into the narrow space. He didn't touch the complimentary earphones, shoved into the seat pocket. He wasn't interested in drowning himself in a bad in-flight movie. He wanted focus, clarity. The injustice of what had just happened replayed in his mind, not as a fresh wound, but as a fire. Most people in his position would have waited until landing to lodge a complaint. But Elias Carter hadn't built a billion-dollar empire by waiting. Without a word, he pulled out his phone. The flight attendants had yet to push back, so cellular service still worked. He scrolled to a contact saved only as Langley. Ops. The man on the other end picked up after one ring. "Sir?" came the voice, crisp, British, and alert. "Patch me through to Atlantic Sky Airlines Corporate Control. I want the CEO, the COO, and the Director of Flight Operations on a conference call. Now." There was no hesitation. "Understood." 2 minutes later, 3 high-ranking voices were on the line, their tones immediately deferential. "Mr. Carter, we didn't expect—" Elias cut them off. One of your crew just removed me from my purchased business class seat to make room for another passenger. I'm sitting in economy. This is flight 782 to London. You have 10 minutes to fix this before I make sure this airline's name trends in every major media outlet by sunrise. Silence. Then frantic shuffling, voices muttering off mic. One of them tried to offer an explanation about overbooking, loyalty tiers, miscommunication. Elias's voice stayed low, measured, but each word landed like a hammer. You have exactly 8 minutes now. I don't care if you have to land the plane in Iceland. You will resolve this. As the call ended, he could feel eyes on him from nearby passengers, the kind of half-curious, half-nervous glances people give when they suspect they're in the presence of someone important. He leaned back, closed his eyes, and began counting the seconds. At minute 7, the intercom chimed. "Ladies and gentlemen," came the captain's voice, carefully formal, "we'd like to apologize for a seating error that occurred during boarding. We will be making adjustments shortly." Passengers murmured. Moments later, the same flight attendant who had ousted him appeared, her smile now stiff in a different way, the kind that comes when someone has been told they've made a grave mistake. "Mr. Carter," she said quietly, "could you please come with me?" He stood, not rushing, letting the eyes of every passenger follow him as he walked back up the aisle toward business class. But instead of stopping there, she guided him through the curtain and into the cockpit. The captain stood, saluted. Actually, saluted. "Sir, we're at your disposal. Orders?" Elias didn't smile. "Good. We're going to change how this flight operates. Starting now." In the cockpit, the captain stood stiff, already aware he was in the presence of someone with the power to dismantle his career. Elias spoke calmly, but with steel in his voice. "Announce the mistake, return my seat, and compensate every passenger. Here. Then let me speak over the intercom." Minutes later, the man in the cream blazer was being escorted to economy, his smirk gone. Elias took 3A, pressed the intercom, and addressed the cabin. "Your dignity is not negotiable. Don't ever let anyone treat you as less than what you are." The applause that followed was quiet at first, then rolled like thunder. Back in his seat, Elias didn't just sip champagne in silence. He went to work. Connecting to the in-flight Wi-Fi, he fired off a chain of emails to his legal and PR teams, attaching video proof of the incident. He ordered a public statement, termination of his company's $48 annual travel contract with the airline, and made sure the press would receive everything the moment they landed. By mid-flight, corporate executives were in panic mode, and the captain quietly asked if there was a way to avoid the damage. Elias's reply was calm. "The damage was done the moment you moved me." When the plane touched down, passengers were told to stay seated. The captain announced over the intercom, "Mr. Elias Carter will address you before disembarkation." Standing tall, Elias said, "This isn't just about a seat. It's about the everyday humiliations people face when those in power think they can get away with it. Not anymore." Stepping off first into a wall of flashing cameras, he gave one final line for the world to hear. "When they move you out of your seat, make sure you leave with the whole plane." Within hours, the clip was viral, the airline's stock was crashing, and the cream blazer man was trending for all the wrong reasons.